Welcome, everyone. Apologies for the slightly slow start, and I am really glad to see you all here. Hello, Jeannette, Sampath, Joy, Brian, our speakers, and delighted to have all members of our audience here today. I think it's a very important topic that we're addressing. It's just to make sure you're at the right place, we are talking about the future frontiers of the global economy and society, the role of science and collaborative research. So welcome. The agenda for today is quite packed, and I was going to give an introduction to the topic. However, since we are a little slow in starting, I want to move straight into our first speaker. My name is Mei-Lin Feng. I'm the chair of the People-Centered Internet. I'm also the co-convener of this wonderful science summit held in conjunction with the UN General Assembly in its 76th year. Jeannette Stewart is the CEO of Translation Commons, and she will be giving our opening talk. All the speaker biographies are on the schedule, so I will not be going into her illustrious career, which is amazing. Jeannette, please, over to you. You can start sharing your screen.
Thank you, Mei-Lin, very much. I am sharing my screen. Just give me a second. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeannette Stewart, and I'm here today to speak to you about the Language Digitization Initiative. Language plays a crucial role in the formation and development of concepts. Perhaps even more crucial is that through language, we're able to transfer knowledge. Each language contains the culture, identity, aspirations, and characteristics of the people speaking it. It is alive and continuously evolving. It is through language that we communicate with the world. We define our identity. We express our history and culture. We learn. We defend our human rights. And we participate in all aspects of society. Our future depends heavily on a digital ecosystem, and we are striving to bring connectivity to every corner of the world, every school and every village. What would the world be like if we were all online? With so many international agencies and companies working towards 100% connectivity, we ask, in what language will the next billion people use the internet? The digital divide refers to the gap between demographics and regions that have access to modern information and communications technology and those that don't have access. But a new angle to the concept of the digital divide is when users have access but no ability to benefit due to a language barrier. Unequal development of our digital domain is driving many languages to extinction. Only 1,000 out of the 7,000 native languages are supported online. This is because most of these languages are not yet digitized. Take a look at the 198 million Indonesian users on the second table. Indonesia has over 800 languages, meaning that most of these users are using the internet in a dominant regional language and not their own. We take language access rights for granted, but 40% of the world's languages deemed as endangered do not have access and do not participate in any of these basic human rights. To communicate, learn, and work in one's own language is a human right. During the first months of the COVID-19 pandemic, we realized that some Indigenous communities had no information in their language. We created a basic poster in 352 underrepresented languages, and for some of them, this was the only information on COVID-19 available. Let me share with you a couple of communities that have worked very hard to give their languages a fighting chance in the digital world. The Cherokee Nation in North America. From creating their syllabary in 1821 and then in 1836, contracting out the creation of their fonts, they were always committed to the latest technology from typewriter bowls to early mobile. And today they are fully digitized, from operating systems and desktop applications to texting, mobile apps like maps, social media, and everything else we do digitally in the main 20 languages. Another example is the Fulani language, spoken by more than 65 million people in a dialect continuum that stretches across 20 countries in West and Central Africa. Until the early 1990s, they were using the Arabic script to write their language. The problems were numerous, as the script could not cater for all the sounds and there was no standardization of orthography. Until two teenage brothers created a writing system. The work became Bindi Pular and eventually Adlam. An article titled "The Alphabet That Will Save a People from Disappearing" described how Adlam became widespread across many African countries. This had a huge impact on a couple of technologies who helped the brothers digitize it. The Adlam journey started at first as handwriting, then implemented as a font encoding with Arabic code points. Technical challenges and support by technology vendors are enabling rapid growth of this alphabet in a previously underserved language community implementation. The challenges are many, as the newly standardized script meets the technical infrastructure of the Internet. Adlam holds great potential to improve literacy for millions as it is spreading rapidly in more than 20 countries. Unquestionably, the digitization of a language can increase literacy, provide access to vital information, generate income, and enlarge the community's outreach to its diaspora. So what is involved in the digitization of a language? Why haven't all languages been digitized? From the examples of the Adlam script and the Cherokee Nation's digitization efforts, you can clearly see it is not an easy task, and most importantly, it cannot be done by the community alone. The first step is to include the new writing system, script, and its characters in the Unicode standard, a process which can take years to complete. Then the community needs to create fonts that are according to the Unicode standard. The next step is to create a keyboard and make it available to the speakers of the language. After this, the community can start creating content. But to be digitized, they will need to approach many different tech companies and ask them to include their script in their applications, a daunting process for many communities. The Language Digitization Initiative is a global impact program of Translation Commons. Translation Commons is a non-profit volunteer community of language professionals and technologists, creating free resources and providing free tools to help linguists of all languages, with the mission to leave no language and no linguist behind in today's technological environment. As part of our partnership with UNESCO's International Year of Indigenous Languages, and now with a decade, Translation Commons launched the Language Digitization Initiative to make it possible for all language communities to have equal access and opportunity to digitize. We created the document Zero to Digital, the first of many guidelines, helping communities navigate the basic elements of digitizing their languages. It is a step-by-step document as technical guidelines on how to enable a language to be online. The document Zero to Digital helps communities evaluate where they are and what they need, suggests approaches, encourages practical usage, points them to the right tools, engages them, and connects them to the right organizations and people. Each language in the world has a different digital footprint. Even some of the top 100 languages are not fully represented in the entire language technology workflow shown here. It is a complex and multi-stakeholder journey for any language to be fully developed digitally. Without font designs and input methods, thousands of endangered languages cannot even start the journey. Without educational material, there will be limited content. And without data sets, most languages will not have fully functional automation support and applications. Without properly trained linguists, knowledge will not be shared and cultural treasures will be lost. It will take a global and multidisciplinary effort to bring all the languages online. But we have solutions. The Zero to Digital is a series of guidelines with another 3 guidelines being published in the next few weeks. We also have open source educational material. We're creating a pilot of digitizing the Sunawar language, which right now we are making a Unicode proposal. We are creating tutorials and materials for Train the Trainer and many more projects. As you have seen from the previous slide, the only way to truly make a difference is by mobilizing a great number of diverse organizations and people with multiple skill sets. With the International Decade of Indigenous Languages approaching, we will be inviting more people and organizations, both nonprofits and corporations, to join us and help us in this huge task. The goal of the Language Digitization Initiative is to bring together professionals, researchers, and language communities to support the digitization of endangered, indigenous, and minority languages, and to build capacity and professional networks to help all languages have equal opportunities and equal digital footprint online. We need experts in different fields, and it is only when we combine our knowledge, passion, and fortitude we'll accomplish our vision. Let's have our international agencies and governments create policies, our technologists create the technical support, and our academics the linguistic support. Let's have our educators and researchers work on teaching the next generations, and let's get the language professionals to embrace and include new linguists from thousands of languages. Today, Translation Commons is 4,000 volunteers strong. We hope 1 million tomorrow. If you feel passionate about enabling every person in the world to be online, please join us. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, Jeannette. And please also share your slides. I think people are asking for the guidelines that you've been showing. This gives me the opportunity to say the very, very beginning of being on the global frontier is, in fact, being able to communicate with one another. And while it is important to communicate across tribal boundaries, imagine if you weren't able to communicate with your own tribe. And that is actually the case for many people in Indigenous communities today, because they are separated. They're separated from each other by COVID, just like we are. But because they have no digital fonts for their language, they can't communicate in their first language. And it must be so painful in this time of COVID for families to be separated from one another and not be able to speak in their first language with each other. Thank you for the important work that you and your community are doing, Jeannette. And please do put a link to your slides in the